The recent escalation between Iran and Israel has drawn worldwide attention, especially after reports emerged that Iran has struck back hard, reversing what was thought to be one of Mossad's boldest operations. To truly understand this event, it's important to break down what happened, why it matters, and how Iran managed to transform a situation that looked like a devastating setback into a show of force that surprised even its staunchest critics. The narrative isn't just about missiles and drones, but also about intelligence networks, strategic resilience, and the psychological warfare playing out between two long-standing rivals in the Middle East. For years, Mossad has been portrayed as one of the most sophisticated intelligence services in the world, known for daring missions and its global reach. Mossad has reportedly carried out targeted assassinations, cyber operations, and sabotage missions inside Iranian territory, often with precision that has stunned observers. However, what unfolded recently indicates that Iran's security apparatus, led by forces loyal to Ayatollah Khamenei, has not only managed to neutralize a major Mossad initiative, but also to flip the script entirely. This isn't just about foiling a plot. It is about sending a message that Iran's counterintelligence and retaliatory mechanisms are operating on a much higher level than many analysts previously believed. What sets this episode apart is the scale of Iran's response. According to reports, Iranian forces did not simply disrupt an operation, but systematically dismantled a network that was embedded inside their borders. That's significant because Mossad traditionally works through local proxies, sleeper cells, and highly compartmentalized structures designed to withstand partial exposure. For Iranian counterintelligence to roll up such a network suggests that their surveillance, data analysis, and field coordination have reached a level where they can anticipate moves, track communications, and close in with minimal leaks. It indicates a maturing of Iran's internal security design, which has historically been criticized for being heavy-handed but not necessarily innovative. On the performance side, Iran's response included both cyber and kinetic actions. Multiple reports suggest that Iranian cyber units were able to trace communication channels back to key operatives, creating a digital footprint that revealed how Mossad was trying to coordinate activities. Once those channels were mapped, Iranian forces were able to move quickly on the ground. Performance here refers not just to speed but also to efficiency. Eliminating or capturing high-value assets with minimal collateral damage demonstrates a professionalized approach. In simple terms, this wasn't just a blunt crackdown, it was a highly targeted action. Another aspect worth highlighting is how Iran showcased its missile and drone capabilities following the counter-operation. In modern conflict, weapon systems are as much about psychological impact as they are about battlefield effectiveness. By launching strikes against specific targets tied to Israeli interests or allied infrastructure, Iran underscored that it has the range, accuracy, and coordination necessary to escalate if provoked. These strikes serve as performance markers for Iran's evolving arsenal. Observers noted improvements in guidance systems, range precision, and synchronized deployment. For laypeople, this means that Iran is not just firing blindly, but hitting where it intends, which is a leap from older systems that were more symbolic than strategic. Design elements of Iran's approach are also worth exploring. The design here is not about physical hardware alone, but about strategy and perception. Iran's security framework is designed around layered defenses. The Revolutionary Guard, cyber units, intelligence services, and local militias all form a network that makes it difficult for external actors to penetrate deeply without being detected at some level. What Mossad reportedly underestimated is how adaptive this design has become. Iran has shifted from a purely reactive model to a proactive one, baiting, monitoring, and then dismantling threats systematically. A unique selling point of Iran's counterstrike is the integration of multiple domains, unlike in the past where Iran might respond in a single area, say, through a proxy militia in Lebanon or Iraq. This time, the retaliation blended intelligence, direct military action, and cyber warfare. That integration is the hallmark of modern hybrid warfare, a model practiced by major powers like Russia and the United States. Iran, adopting this model, positions it not just as a regional power resisting foreign pressure, but as a player capable of multi-layered strategic planning. To the wider world, this elevates Iran's credibility, showing that it can project force and intelligence in ways previously reserved for larger states with advanced resources. Another unique point is how the incident plays into domestic Iranian politics. For Ayatollah Khamenei and the Revolutionary Guard, demonstrating the ability to strike back decisively boosts internal legitimacy. After years of sanctions, economic hardship, and political unrest, such victories provide a rallying point for the regime. The state media presentation of these operations emphasizes strength, resilience, and divine favor, making the strikes not just a security event, but a cultural one. This dual-design military success and political consolidation amplifies the impact far beyond the battlefield. From a layman's perspective, the story can be simplified into a game of cat and mouse, where the mouse has learned new tricks and turned the chase against the cat. Mossad, often romanticized in popular culture as unbeatable, has suffered a setback that reveals vulnerabilities. Iran, often dismissed as reactive and clumsy, has shown agility and sophistication. For viewers who may not follow Middle Eastern geopolitics closely, the takeaway is that the balance of intelligence and counterintelligence is never static. Even the strongest players can be caught off guard if their opponents evolve. There are technical details that highlight this evolution further. For example, Iranian surveillance technology has been upgraded in recent years with Chinese and Russian assistance, advanced facial recognition, traffic monitoring systems, and cyber intrusion detection tools have been quietly integrated into Iran's domestic security grid. These tools make it harder for foreign operatives to move undetected. Add to this Iran's experience in monitoring its own dissident populations, and you have a domestic intelligence machine that is both wide-ranging and increasingly precise. On the offensive side, Iran's missile and drone programs have benefited from homegrown innovation, coupled with reverse engineering of captured foreign tech. This combination results in platforms that may not look cutting-edge but are effective, reliable, and surprisingly adaptable in performance. Another point to consider is how Iran is leveraging regional allies in this larger confrontation. Hezbollah in Lebanon, various militias in Iraq, and the Houthis in Yemen form part of what Iran calls its axis of resistance. When Mossad or Israeli interests move aggressively, Iran can activate pressure points across this network, multiplying the challenge for Israeli defense planners. This decentralized yet coordinated structure is part of Iran's unique design philosophy, to extend the battlefield beyond its own borders, making retaliation costly and unpredictable. The psychological dimension is just as important as the tactical. By successfully striking back, Iran undermines the aura of invincibility around Mossad. In intelligence work, perception is half the battle. If local assets or potential recruits begin to doubt Mossad's ability to protect them, the recruitment pipeline dries up. On the other hand, if Iran demonstrates that it can not only detect but also dismantle such networks, its deterrence grows without firing a shot. This is a performance advantage that operates in the minds of both enemies and allies. One of the subtler design elements of Iran's retaliation is timing. By striking at a moment when regional tensions were already high, Iran maximized the attention its actions received. Every missile launch, every cyberclaim, every press release was amplified across global media, magnifying the psychological and political impact. This shows an understanding that modern warfare is as much about narrative dominance as about battlefield outcomes. Mossad's setback became Iran's headline victory because Tehran seized control of the story. For those wondering about the risks, it's true that such escalations bring Iran closer to potential direct conflict with Israel, something neither side openly desires. However, the calibrated nature of Iran's response indicates it wanted to demonstrate capability without crossing red lines that would trigger a full-scale war. This balance between aggression and restraint is another marker of strategic maturity. In terms of unique selling points, Iran's actions stand out for three reasons. First, the integration of intelligence, cyber, and kinetic operations shows a sophistication that challenges outdated views of Iran's military as unsophisticated. Second, the ability to dismantle a Mossad network inside Iran reveals a growing edge in counterintelligence. Third, the projection of power through regional allies ensures that Israel has to fight a multi-front shadow war, which complicates its defense planning. The global audience should also note how this impacts larger geopolitical alignments. Iran's ability to withstand Mossad and retaliate strengthens its hand in negotiations with powers like Russia, China, and even European states who may want to re-engage For countries skeptical of Israel's intelligence dominance, this episode provides a counter-narrative that shifts perceptions. In a more technical sense, Iran's missile strikes displayed improved aerodynamic design and warhead stability, which means these weapons are no longer symbolic but genuinely effective in targeting infrastructure or bases. The drones, many of them long-range and capable of evading radar, demonstrated persistence and precision. To a non-technical audience, this translates to, Iran can now hit what it wants, when it wants, and can do so without being easily stopped. Finally, the entire episode underscores how modern conflicts are no longer about traditional battlefields. Intelligence operations, cyber attacks, drones, and perception management are the new tools of power. Iran's strikeback represents a shift where it is no longer content to absorb blows, but is prepared to retaliate with sophistication. Mossad's setback, while not fatal to its reputation, shows that even the strongest agencies must constantly adapt or risk being outplayed.